You know that feeling, right? We've all been there. You reach into the fridge, you're excited for a snack, and you find something that's gone a little bit fuzzy or sour or just, well, weird. It's so frustrating. But what's really going on is this fascinating invisible battle happening in your kitchen every single day. So, today, we're going to dive into the science of how we fight back and keep our food fresh.
And it all starts with a moment just like this. You buy some amazing food. Maybe you get stuck in traffic on the way home, and by the time you're finally ready to eat it, it's a disaster. Yep, that exact moment of disappointment is pretty much where our whole story begins.
I mean, it's not just nasi lemak, is it? It's that lumpy milk you were just about to pour into your coffee, or that one mysterious spot that appears on a slice of bread overnight. So what is actually happening here? Why does perfect good food decide to, well, turn bad?
Okay, to figure out how to protect our food, we first have to identify the enemy. Let's think of this like a detective story. We've got the evidence, the spoiled food, and now we need to find the culprit.
And what's really interesting is that our first line of defense is just our own senses. You know what I mean? You can see those black spots of mold on bread, you can definitely smell when meat or fish is off, and you can feel that kind of slimy texture on old rice. These are all just clues telling us that something has gone very, very wrong.
Right, so who or what is leaving all these clues? Well, the enemy is totally invisible to the naked eye, but it is all around us, all the time. So let's zoom in and meet the tiny little culprits responsible for all this mess.
The science behind this whole thing is called decomposition, and what that really means is that these tiny organisms are basically eating our food before we get a chance to. They're breaking it down from something complex, like a strawberry, into much simpler stuff. And the byproducts of that whole process, yeah, that's what we call spoilage. And here they are, the main suspects in our food spoilage mystery. Microorganisms. We're talking specifically about things like bacteria and fungi. These microscopic life forms are the ones turning our delicious meals into something we definitely do not want to eat.
So here's the absolute key. Like any living thing, these microbes need certain conditions to survive, and more importantly, to multiply. Think of this list as their life support system. They need water, they need air, the temperature has to be just right, not too hot, not too cold, and they need the right level of acidity. You gotta remember these four things because they are the secret to everything that comes next.
Okay, now that we know what the enemy needs to survive, we can finally build our strategy. For centuries, humans have developed this incredible set of tools to fight back. So let's take a look at the arsenal we use to protect our food. And the strategy? It's brilliantly simple, really. If these microbes need those four things to grow, what do you think happens if we just take one of them away? That is the core principle behind every single method of food preservation. We just mess with their environment so they can't thrive.
So that's the official goal. Food preservation isn't some kind of magic. It's the science of treating our food to either stop the growth of microorganisms completely or, at the very least, slow them way down.
Let's start with a really familiar one, temperature. Putting food in the fridge, that's cooling, right? It just makes the microbes kind of sluggish and slows down their growth. But freezing, that's like hitting a giant pause button. Once you get down to 0 degrees Celsius and below, their growth pretty much stops entirely.
And we can use that same strategy on all their other needs too. Drying or salting food? Well, that removes the water. Pickling, by using something like vinegar, creates this super acidic environment that microbes absolutely hate. And vacuum packing? That literally sucks the air right out of the bag. See? Each method targets a specific weakness.
Take canning, for instance. It's a full-on, multi-pronged attack. First, the food gets cooked. Then, it's sealed in an airtight can, so boom, the air is gone. But then, to make sure, the whole sealed can is heated again to a really high temperature, which kills off any stubborn microbes that might have survived. It's an incredibly clever and effective strategy.
Okay, so we've covered the theories, but how does this all work in practice, say, on a single ingredient? Let's take a common household item, the chili, and see just how many different ways we can preserve it. This is such a great question. Is there just one right way to do it, or can we use our entire preservation arsenal on one thing? Let's put our knowledge to the test with these chilies. First up, drying. This is one of the oldest methods around. By just leaving the chilies out in the sun for about a week, you're using the sun's heat to evaporate all that moisture. No water means no growth for the microbes. It's simple, ancient, and it just works. All right, next up, pickling.
Now here, we're not removing anything, we're creating a hostile environment. That vinegar solution is way too acidic for most bacteria and fungi to even think about surviving in. We've basically changed the whole chemistry of the environment to protect the chilies.
And finally, good old freezing. This method, of course, targets temperature. By popping the chilies in the freezer, we drop the temperature so low that any microbes that are on there are put into a state of suspended animation. They can't grow, they can't multiply, and the food stays perfectly preserved.
So, we've seen the what and the how. But let's just zoom out for a second. Why is all of this so incredibly important? Because believe me, the impact of this technology goes way beyond just preventing a fuzzy piece of bread in your kitchen.
I mean, just look at this massive impact. Food preservation means we waste way less food, which is absolutely crucial for feeding a growing planet. It allows us to store food for long periods and even send it all over the globe. It lets us enjoy summer fruits in the dead of winter. And it's the foundation for all the convenient instant foods so many of us rely on. And this quote just brings it all home, doesn't it? It's that simple joy of capturing the taste of a specific season, in this case rambutans, and being able to open a jar and enjoy it months later. That's the real magic of preservation in our day-to-day lives.
And the science has become just unbelievably precise. Think about UHT milk, the long life stuff. For that, the milk is heated to 135 degrees Celsius for just 2 seconds. That's all it takes. It's enough to kill the microbes without totally destroying the taste. It's a perfect example of that scientific precision at work.
So I'll leave you with this one thought. The next time you open a can of beans, a jar of pickles, or pull something out of the freezer, just take a second. Without this incredible science built over centuries of human ingenuity, what would your dinner plate actually look like tonight?